Welcome to episode 59 of our ComfyUI tutorial series. Today, I will show you how I use Qwen Edit, a model similar to Flux Kontext, but with the right prompts, it seems to create more consistent results. I will share my workflows and show you how to use it so you can edit your images more easily. If you get an error like this for core nodes, like the text encode Qwen image edit, it means you don't have the latest version of ComfyUI. To be able to use the new models, you need to update your ComfyUI. Go to the Update folder, and here you have a bat file called Update ComfyUI. Double-click on it, wait for it to finish, then press any key to continue. After that, you can start ComfyUI normally and let it do the update. If you still get some errors for some nodes, go to the manager and install the missing custom nodes. Sometimes you might also need to update the nodes, and you can use Update All for that. I will upload a zip archive with all the workflows from this episode on Discord so you can get it for free. Check the video description for instructions. It has all kinds of workflows. These are different base workflows, and the rest of the workflows are just variations of the same base workflows but with different prompts, so you can achieve different results by prompting in a certain way. I like to have them organized in categories so I can go directly to what I need and just do the edit I want. But you can also use the base workflows and just adjust the prompt. I added like a title on each workflow using the label node from RG3 custom node. So this workflow allows you to edit a single image. All you need to run this workflow is on the left in this pixaroma node. So always start with this to make sure you have all you need. In this case, we need a Qwen edit model, a clip model, a VAE model, and a lightning LoRA so we can speed up the generation. Let's start with the Qwen edit model. You can download a model from here. You will have to see what model will fit well on your video card. It does need a lot of VRAM, and the lower the Q version, the model is less smart or the quality of the generation will be lower. Let me show you how to pick the right model. You can use this link to go on this page that in fact is just another tab Where are the nodes. If you look on the right side, you can see it has this model compatibility tool. So what you can do is click on this Add Hardware for Estimation button and then add GPU and CPU. I will click on GPU since that is the most important. I select NVIDIA since that is the provider, and look for your model in the list. I will go with RTX 4090 since that is my model. It has 24 GB of VRAM. Then I click on Add Item. Now I can click here to go back, and look here, it tells me what works well with my model. For Q8, it says it can probably run on my card, so I will try to test that, and if it doesn't work, I will use a Q6 model. From what I saw, from Q5 and up, the quality is quite okay, and under Q5, it starts to degrade a little. I usually look at the size. Since I have 24 GB of VRAM, if the model is under 24 GB in size, I can give it a try. You download the right Q model for you and place it in the Diffusion Models folder. If you go to your ComfyUI installation folder and then the models folder, no matter what models you use, they will come in one of these folders. In this case, it is the Diffusion Models folder. LoRA's will be downloaded in the LoRA's folder, and so on. I included the instructions in this note. You download the clip model from here and place it in the clip folder. Do the same for the VAE model and the LoRA's. I used an 8-step LoRA so I can generate in only 8 steps. But if you go here, keep an eye on the models since they get updated. So here you have the LoRA for the Qwen model, and on top are the LoRA's for the Qwen edit model that we use today. I'm using this version in this video, but I tried and it worked okay with 4 steps also, and I didn't see much difference in quality. So maybe try both and decide which one you like. Just make sure you select the LoRA you downloaded from here. If it doesn't appear, press the R key so you can refresh the node definitions. Then if you search for Edit, you can select your version of LoRA. I will go with 8 steps, and then in the K sampler, I will use 8 steps. If you go with 4 steps LoRA, you use 4 steps, and if you don't want to use a LoRA, you use 20 steps. So we have what we need. Now let's see how this works. Since Qwen Edit is used for editing images, we need a Load Image node to load that image. Then you choose your file from this button and select the image you want to edit. In my case, this portrait of the woman. Then I put the scale image to total pixels to avoid using images that are too big, but if you want a certain size and do not want it scaled down, you can right-click and bypass this node. Sometimes I have big images and it will take forever to generate or crash, so I usually leave this one, and you can change the megapixels if you want it slightly larger. Then we need a positive prompt that describes the edit. You mention what you want to edit. Is it the woman, the t-shirt, or the hair, so it knows what you are talking about, and then you tell it what to do and how to edit it. Let's run this workflow. You can see the image is resized to fit, then it is encoded and it will go to KSampler where it will do those edits, and then it is decoded and you get the final image. I included an image comparer node to see before and after, which in this case does not help too much, but when you do simple changes that do not change the pose, it does help. If I delete some extra nodes, you can see that the workflow is not so complicated and is very similar to other workflows we used in other episodes. I can rearrange some of the nodes and delete some extra nodes to make it more simple so you can see it better. Now it is more similar to a Flux workflow, it just has other models and a few nodes are different. So far, we used the clip text encoder node for our positive and negative prompts, but for Qwen Edit, we now have this new node that comes with the latest ComfyUI called Text Encode Qwen Image Edit. It is the same for positive and negative, just with different colors. What is different about it is that it encodes both text and image input, not only text like other nodes. So now our loaded image does not go only to KSampler, it also goes to those text encode nodes, which helps with editing. The rest is kind of similar to Flux. We have the UNet loader if we need to load GGUF models, or the load diffusion model node if you load regular models. We have the LoRA loader where we load LoRAs. If you want to add an extra LoRA, you can duplicate that node and chain link it with other LoRAs, so you can add a style LoRA and so on. This node modifies how your model samples during generation by applying a shift parameter. It tweaks the model's internal behavior during the diffusion process to influence output quality, detail, or stylistic nuance. For this node, I did not find documentation, but it seems that CFG norm smooths and balances how strictly the model follows your prompt by normalizing the guidance strength. Then we have KSampler, which we already talked about many times in the first episodes. Some complained that I do not explain the workflow each time, but if I explain the same nodes in each episode, it will take forever, and it is repetitive to explain everything all over again. I assume that after 58 episodes, you know what KSampler, load image, and VAE encode and decode do, so I do not have to repeat it in every episode. To show you that it works without the LoRA, I can delete that node, rearrange, and you can see it is quite simple now. For beginners, I suggest moving the nodes around to see how each node links and to try to recreate the workflows. Now, since we do not have the LoRA that speeds things up, we need to use 20 steps to get a good image, since 8 steps is not enough anymore. If I run the workflow, you can see it can run with this basic setup, and we got this result. For image quality, I did not see much difference. If I open the results, you can see there is a difference, but with 8 steps, it also looks good. Without LoRA, it is here, with LoRA, it is here, and I kind of prefer in this case the one with LoRA, which is faster. So this was the workflow I tested. You can practice using the same input as me. You also have the result I got, the workflow you drag into the ComfyUI canvas, and a preview to see how it should look. Let's move to the next workflow. You can drag and drop it to the ComfyUI canvas. What is different about this workflow is that instead of encoding the image and linking it to the KSampler to get the same image size, I used a node that lets me choose a different ratio from a list. So if I have selected a 9:16 ratio, even if the loaded image is a square ratio, my final image is 9:16 how I want. It is quite useful to adapt it to fit the ratio you want. If I want a landscape image instead with a 16:9 ratio, I can easily get that. If you do not want to use this node, you can work without it. Just delete it and add here your preferred width and height. Let's move to the next workflow. This time I will combine 2 images. If we look here, you can see I loaded 2 images, and I used a stitch node to combine them into one image. I used right so the image comes to the right side, but you can arrange them how you want. Now, because I did not want an ultra-wide image as a result, I used again a different size for empty latent. Without it, you will get a wide landscape image, and I did not want that in this case. For the prompt I used, the man and the woman are a couple taking a selfie. So make sure you mention the subject from each image you upload so it knows what to do, and this is the result. Qwen seems to work a little better than Flux Kontext for some images, more consistent. It is still not perfect when it comes to realistic images, but for everything else it is quite good. You can try to upscale it with the Fluxmania model or another realistic model to get more details and realism. You can combine more than 2 images. For example, I can do 3 or 4. In this case, I used the Stitch node to combine the man and the woman into one image, but Stitch accepts only 2 images at once. So I used another stitch to combine the dog image with the result of the first stitch, and I put the dog image down just to look better, but you can arrange them however you want. And this is how the final image looks. You can see we have combined all 3 images into one, and that resulting image then goes to the text encoder nodes. Try to mention all the subjects and how each interacts with each other, and the result is this image. I really like Qwen. I use it more and more every day. I like that it has better prompt understanding than Flux. Moving to the next workflow, I combined Qwen Edit with inpainting nodes. All AI regenerate images similar to yours, but we know that when the image is regenerated, something gets lost. It is not perfectly identical, and sometimes realism is lost and so on. So I like to use the Inpaint node so I get the exact same image and only a small portion is changed, the one I want to inpaint. You need to install this node from Manager if you do not have it already. So let me show you how it works. First, you load your image. Then you need to select what you want to inpaint, so right-click on the image and select Open in Mask Editor. Now here we can adjust the brush size and start painting the area we want to inpaint. I usually do a little larger than the actual area I want to change, so if I want to add something on the head of this woman, I can inpaint this area, and then I click Save. Now we have that area masked. So both the image and that mask go into this Inpaint node. Make sure you check episode 42 on how to use this node better. Then I prompt what I need to be changed in that area. In this case, I want to add a silver tiara. If I run the workflow, I will get a generation with the woman with a tiara, but if we check, the original image is there and only the Inpaint area is changed, so I have exactly the same face. This inpainting method is good to change, add, or remove things as long as the pose stays consistent so it can replace that area. If you ask to add a tiara and then turn the head around or something, it will not work because the workflow takes the original image and pastes it back over the generation and only leaves the Inpaint area visible. So if it is too drastically changed, it will not work well with Inpaint. Let's open the image again in the mask editor. You can clear the selection and redo it if something does not work right. Or let's say I want to change the hair color instead, so I will make a selection a little bigger than the hair, then I save the mask. I will adapt the prompt to say, change the color of the hair to pink, and let's run the workflow. And look what we got. It did exactly what I asked for. We have the same face, and only that change is different, and with this method you get better results than using Qwen Edit alone, which many times changes something in the face. The disadvantage of Inpaint is that it can be a little slower, but it is worth a try, especially for examples like I showed here in this video. So I showed you all the base workflows, so let's move to other workflows that, like I said, are just base ones with different prompt structures. Let's try these workflows that let you add items. For example, I want to add pink pants with dots to this bunny character. As you can see, it does not have pants in this image. So let's run the workflow, and we got this new image with pink pants instead. Now, because I did not use the Inpaint method, you can see it regenerated the image, but it is not identical. It's slightly moved, but I can work with that for now. And here I have another workflow that lets you remove items. For example, I tried to remove pants, and I input this image that has these pants, and if I run it, you can see it removed all the clothes, not only the pants. So what I can do is run it again to see a different seed, and if it does it right, and look at that, now it works okay. You can remove the hat, the backpack, or just replace the clothes with something else. Moving to the next categories that let you change and replace things. Let's start with this one that is quite useful. For this one, I used the prompt keep all the same. You might say, but that is not an edit, right? What I did here was change the aspect ratio to something like landscape. I want to keep all the same but get a landscape ratio instead, so I get a different ratio and it is forced to outpaint the area that is missing. The disadvantage of this method is that you cannot control how it does the crop, but as you can see, it is outpainting the sides quite well and looks seamless, so it is a good way to get different ratios. Let's try again, but now I will use a portrait ratio to see how it can handle it. I should get more things on the top and on the bottom. And look at that, I got this nice image. One trick you can do if the crop is not right and you want closer or further away is to copy the generated image, then select the image in the Load Image node and use Ctrl+V to paste it. Now with that new image, I go and change the prompt and say, zoom out, just like that, simple. When I run it, I get a zoom out version, so it is quite useful if you got cropped parts that you did not want, and of course you can also get closer. I will put in the prompt zoom in and maybe close up to the face, and look at that, how crazy is that? I sometimes use this for video to get the first frame far and the last frame closer so I can control the camera movement. I used Kling AI to get this video from those two images. The next workflow you can use is to replace the background. So for the same bunny image, I asked to replace the background with a cozy home, but you can add more details there since Qwen has good prompt understanding. Let's see what we get. As you can see, it changed the background and adjusted the lighting to fit. It is not perfectly identical since it regenerated, so if you use products with small labels and a lot of text, it might not work like you expect, but it does seem to work better than ChatGPT, for example. You can also replace the character, like I did here. I wanted to replace the bunny with a panda with a red bow. When I run the workflow, I should get that, and it seems to work just fine. It even adapted the shadow on the table to fit. Here is another interesting one that lets you replace text. You just tell it what to replace with what. So in this example, I wanted to replace the game text with alien, and as you can see, the style of the text and font is not so easy to do. If we look at the result, Qwen did a good job replacing the text in the same style and font. It did change the background a little, but it is still quite impressive that it can do that. We finished another category, and let's move now to transformations, since we have some nice use cases here. For this one, I have the other cute bunny, and for the prompt, I asked it to create a sheet turnaround with this character, front, side view, and back view. Now, because there are a lot of poses, it will not fit so well on a square image. That is why I changed the resolution here to landscape so all views can fit on one image nicely. And look at this result. What do you think? It really did a good job with this one. It is quite useful for those who do 3D or animations and need different views. Oh no! The bunnies have invaded my screen. Help! Back to serious business. Let's see how useful it is for restoring images. I have this old photo. It is generated with AI, but still good enough for this example. So I prompted to restore the photo and also added remove scratches. And the result is this one. I mean, how incredible is that? It works for watermarks, scratches, lines, all kinds of stuff you can remove with the right prompt. You can also colorize images, like in this case where I used the previous result. And for the prompt, I added Colorize the Photo. And the result is this one, a color version of that black and white image. It looks pretty good and got the colors right. But you can do more than that, because now it still looks like a vintage photo. I can go to the prompt and add extra requests, like make it look like a modern photo from 2025. And look how it was before, and look now. It looks more like a normal photo. So, with the right prompts, you can do incredible stuff with Qwen. Moving to other transformations, for example, I can transform an image into a pencil drawing, watercolor, or different art styles, Lego, or whatever comes to your mind. It is not perfect for all, but it can do a few art styles. And the result is this one. So play around and see what works and what doesn't. If I replace the prompt with watercolor painting, I get something like this. Not bad, not the best watercolor, but I can work with that. If you want more control over styles, you can use an extra LoRA, like I added here an extra LoRA loader node and a LoRA. I did not find a good Qwen edit LoRA yet, so I added a Qwen LoRA instead of a Qwen edit LoRA, but it kind of works with that also, even if not as good. So check Civet AI to see what new LoRAs are released. You just download the LoRA and place it in the LoRAs folder. Then you hit the R key to refresh and select the LoRA in the node and adjust the strength according to the recommendations. In this case, they suggest 1.2 for the strength, and the result is this line drawing art style that can be useful for different projects. We finished the transformation chapter. Let's move to logo and products. So for this workflow, you can place your logo on different products. For example, I asked to add this logo on an emerald green mug and to make the logo golden color, so you can control how it looks, where it is placed, and so on. The input was this simple black logo on a white background so it can see the logo clearly. And if I run the workflow, I get this cool mug with my logo on it. I do have some mugs in my shops if you want to get a mug with my logo and support this channel. It kept the logo quite well and consistent. Let's try something else, something random to see how it works. Maybe I can put it on a medieval wall or something, a secret wall, and the result is this one. So we can do a lot of things without even using ControlNet, which otherwise would take a lot of time to design, and it is also quite unique when you use your own logo. You can also make your logo look 3D. Just mention how you want it to look, what material, what art style, and so on, and it is pretty good at this. The result is this one. It is not perfectly aligned with the original, but the consistency of the logo is there, even if it made it a little larger. Probably with a LoRA training that keeps consistent and align the start image and end image, we can fix that, but I have to see what training method people come up with. You can also try to replace the product background, but as I mentioned before, it does change the product a little. With some products you can get away with it, and with some products you can see it is not the same product. But it is better than nothing, and with some Photoshop editing, maybe it can be useful. That is all for logo and products. Let's move to clothes and try-on workflows. I have here a t-shirt with the pixaroma logo on it, and I want a prompt for a woman to wear this t-shirt, like advertising or something. The t-shirt and logo are kept consistent. It could be more realistic, but we work with what we have. For this workflow, I wanted to use 2 images. So now I wanted this woman to wear my t-shirt so it is more specific. I prompted how I wanted, and also included jeans so I get a full body and don't let AI decide what to wear. The results look okay, a little bit more realistic than before. What about 3 images combined? Can we do that? So I want this woman to wear a pink t-shirt with the text Qwen on it, and also to wear this skirt. If I run it, I get all those images into one, and then in the prompt I mentioned all the items and how I want it. I wanted a square image, but you can change it from here. And look at this result. It came out quite nice, don't you think? I do think it is more consistent than Flux and ChatGPT when it comes to this. But what if I replace the skirt with a dress? Would it know how to adapt? Let's see. And the result is this. Because I mentioned skirt in the prompt, it transformed that dress into a skirt. So it kept the pattern and adapted. I do like the Qwen model. All that is left is some nunchaku versions so we can do it even faster. And for the last workflow from this episode, let's combine 4 images. On top, I added the woman and the t-shirt, then on the bottom, I added the skirt and a bag. All those are combined into a single image. I like to use a white background for items because it makes them stand out better and AI can see them more clearly. Then for the prompt, I wanted the woman to wear the t-shirt and the skirt and also hold a bag. And the result is this one. I am quite impressed that it was able to pull all this together. Sometimes Qwen makes the head a little larger than the body, not sure if the cartoon images influence the training or something, and it is not always as realistic as I want. Sometimes proportions might be off, but all the models seem to have that problem, even expensive ones like ChatGPT. So for a free model, it is quite good, and it will get even better in the future. So check the workflows on Discord, ask questions, and talk with other people in the community so we can all learn from each other. If you found something useful, leave a like and a comment to help with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you, legends, and everyone who subscribed to YouTube membership. Your support helps me create more tutorials for you. Have a nice day, and I will see you on Discord.